You're watching Good Morning Suncoast at 5.
Red tide continues to impact residents and businesses on the Suncoast. Breaking overnight, Hurricane Lane bears down on Hawaii. How some residents are preparing there for the worst. And super cute four-legged robotic companion is coming back to the U.S. How much it'll cost you. Good Morning Suncoast starts right now. And good morning. It is August 24th, Friday. I'm Ray Collins. Stephanie Webb is off today, and nobody seems to enjoy Friday more than John Scalzi.
Oh, you got that right. And it's going to be good, too. It's going to be a good Friday. I think we're going to see today be a transition day, which will take us back to an easterly wind, which I think is going to help a lot of people with that red tide issue by maybe blowing a little bit of the smell back out toward Gulf waters as we head into the next 24 hours. We'll see how that plays out. Right now, we have one lone shower out in Gulf waters. Remember, yesterday the Gulf was filled with showers heading in our direction. Well, not the case this morning. It's going to be a quieter morning. Morning commute should be just fine weather-wise. Temperatures running warm again near the 80-degree mark along the coast and upper 70s inland. I'll have the complete weekend forecast for you in just a few.
All right, talk to you again soon. Thank you, John. Here's our live camera right now at one of the busier intersections on the Suncoast, US 301 and State Road 70. Often you hear about us talking about the delays of this area, so we decided to go out there and find out what is going on. And right now, nothing is going on. We're going to check back on this throughout the morning. Here are the maps. Nothing to speak of so far in Manatee County. Farther south, here's the scene in Sarasota. Just some little caution areas, Fruitville Road eastbound from Tuttle toward Beneva. And then farther south, that map will show little red spots, 41 northbound around the bypass, also between Venice and Nokomis. Red tide isn't just bad for sea life and the bad smell for the rest of us. It's also costing some businesses countless dollars, including companies that rent to seasonal residents and tourists. Marla Spence has details of that after talking to a property management company. Marla?
Ray, although seasonal residents won't make their way down to the Suncoast until about October and November, one broker and vice president of a company that rents homes to those visitors says she's concerned about her current bookings and how red tide will impact business. Tanya Izzo of Stringer Management in Sarasota has been renting vacation properties for 27 years, and she tells us she's never seen red tide this severe. She has about 150 properties, and although many of her clients have already booked for the season, she does tell us that her office has been getting phone calls from clients concerned about red tide. She tells us her and her colleagues are mostly concerned about their furnished properties because those are the homes where snowbirds usually rent for the season, and that's the bulk of her business.
It's been a very hot topic in our office during lunch hour. Worried and concerned about how long is it going to last, and what the expectations are for season, since we do survive on tourism. It's nerve-wracking. We'll still survive, but it's scary.
So far, Izzo tells us she has not received any cancellations yet on any of her properties located from Manatee to Sarasota counties. Right now, she says it's basically a waiting game to see what's the outcome of red tide in her company. Back to you, Ray.
All right, thank you, Marla. We often describe the Suncoast as paradise, but lately, as you all know, paradise doesn't smell very good. When the winds shift, the smell of red tide carries for miles, even all the way to Myakka City, 25 miles from the coast. Moat Marine says the stench isn't from the toxic algae bloom, but of course the dead fish that it's killed.
This is the first time I've actually smelled it east of I-75. I've been in Florida since '91, and I've never smelled it come this far before. It's really bad this year.
Some downtown Sarasota businesses are lighting candles and incense to mask the smell because it's now seeped inside their stores. 2 events tomorrow at 3 p.m. involving red tide. First off, 2 Suncoast state lawmakers will put political differences aside to hold a bipartisan red tide town hall. Representatives Margaret Good and Joe Gruters are hosting a session tomorrow from 3 to 4:30 to hear concerns about red tide. It'll be at the Suncoast Technical College's Conference Center on Beneva near Proctor Road. Also tomorrow, the response to the toxic algae bloom. A local group will host an event to discuss possible solutions to red tide. The group is called Turn the Tide. They'll host it at the Cock and Bull in Sarasota County on tomorrow. It starts at 3 p.m. It's a free event and also open to the public. Red tide has caused Sarasota County to issue a no swim advisory for much of its 31 miles of beaches. That includes Lido Beach, Brohard Beach, Venice Pier Beach, Siesta Beach, and Longboat Key Beach. Sarasota County health officials say bacteria found during water quality testing is outside acceptable limits. So the beaches remain open, but they don't recommend going in the water at this point. ABC 7 has been out in front of the red tide crisis and covering the storm from every angle, from causes to tourism effects to cleanup. For answers to some of the most frequently asked questions, go online and find the stories at mysuncoast.com. Well, a much different natural disaster is bearing down on Hawaii. A slow-moving storm has already dumped more than 2 feet of rain in some areas. Hawaii's governor has urged people to stock up on supplies and brace for what could be an historic hurricane. ABC's Kenneth Gibson tells us how Hurricane Lane is causing panic in the Pacific.
Unreal, huh?
More than 20 inches of rain already drenching parts of Hawaii as Hurricane Lane closes in. The downpours triggering landslides and flash flooding on the Big Island.
You can see major flooding here in progress. The water is several feet deep out ahead of us.
The powerful hurricane packing winds of up to 130 miles an hour. This morning, forecasters keeping a close watch on its track, saying it likely won't make landfall, but still could lash the islands with severe storm surge, another 20 inches of rain and damaging winds. ABC's Gio Benitez in Honolulu.
Look, we are here in Waikiki Beach. We are seeing these waves get bigger and bigger, and we just heard a lifeguard here on a megaphone saying to get out of the water because it's just too dangerous.
There's a lot of uncertainty. What is for sure, though, is that Hawaii is going to be impacted by Hurricane Lane. The question is how bad.
People facing long lines and empty shelves at supermarkets as they make final preparations.
We are scared. We are concerned about the storm.
For some of the 300,000 tourists in Hawaii this morning, shelters are their only refuge.
We were very afraid of the storm, and in France we don't have storm like that, so we decided not to stay near the beach and to go to the shelter.
Candace Gibson, ABC News, New York.
A former Punta Gorda police officer facing manslaughter charges is asking for his trial to be postponed until next year. Lee Cole's attorneys claim they need more time to review records recently received from the Punta Gorda city manager's office. Among the documents are emails from citizens making death threats against Cole. He is charged with negligent manslaughter for firing what is believed to be blanks in a role-playing scenario, accidentally killing 73-year-old Mary Knowlton during a citizens' event several years ago. A parasite infection outbreak linked to McDonald's salads continues to grow. The Centers for Disease Control say more than 500 people in 16 states have gotten sick from this intestinal illness. Symptoms include vomiting, fever, and body aches. It can last several days to a few months and be treated with antibiotics. According to the FDA, an unused package of Fresh Express salad mix tested positive for the parasite. A McDonald's spokesperson says in July it had removed the mix from impacted residents. Happening today, a special blood drive for the daughter of a Sarasota police detective. Little 4-year-old Evelyn just finished chemotherapy for acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Police are hosting a blood and Be the Match registry drive today. It starts at 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Sarasota Police Headquarters. Looking ahead to the weekend, the Special Olympics will be moving to Benderson Park. There's an event tomorrow. It's the Special Olympians Stand-Up Paddleboard Competition. It features Olympians from across the state. The event is tomorrow at 11 a.m. at Nathan Benderson Park. Sony's super cute 4-legged robotic companion is coming back to the U.S. The robot dog will be sold starting next month. The dog debuted in Japan back in the 1990s. It is equipped with facial recognition technology and artificial intelligence, so it can even develop a personality. The cost? Nearly $3,000. Still ahead on Good Morning Suncoast, 5 suspects connected to a compound of starving children were in court this week in New Mexico. The outcome of those court proceedings. And later in the hour, a preliminary autopsy report is out for Iowa's Molly Tibbetts as a funeral is planned for this weekend. It is almost 5:10 right now on this Friday morning. There's a shot outside our studios at 10th and Lemon. Big question, John, is which way will the winds be shifting today for the red tide?
Yeah, that is a big question. Also, in terms of our storm motion and the timing of the afternoon storms, it's a transition day today. We are headed back toward that easterly wind flow. Right now, we have kind of variable winds throughout the afternoon. Don't think we'll have much in the way of morning showers, but by later in the day, about a 50% chance of rain. We'll talk about the weekend forecast coming up in a few.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Don't hide it. We know that sometimes emotions just get the better of you, especially at the Honda Summer Spectacular event. And we know getting a deal on the Honda Civic, a 2018 KBB.com Best Buy, can be quite liberating, especially when this stylish Honda Civic comes with Sport Mode. Yes! Yes! Express what you're feeling at the Honda Summer Spectacular event.
I'm happy you're happy.
Visit your local Honda dealer and test drive the Honda Civic today.
How do you open tough jar lids? Do you try this one? Or this one? Or how about this one?
Honey?
This is the future. Shouldn't there be a robot for this by now? There is. Introducing RoboTwist, the robotic jar opener that easily twists off even the toughest lids. Just set it down, press the button, and watch it work. First, the RoboStrong vise locks down tight. Then the powerful twisting action unscrews the lid. RoboTwist is yours for the special introductory price of just $19.99. That's right, the robotic jar opener that easily twists off even the toughest lids, all for just $19.99. Whether the jar is big or small, RoboTwist can open them all. Supplies are limited, so don't delay. Here's how to get yours today.
Call 1-800-347-1073. That's 1-800-347-1073. Or order online at buyrobotwist.com.
We believe in patriotism. We believe in our nation's youth. We believe veterans earn their benefits through their service to our nation. We believe in a strong national security. We believe in our country. For 100 years, veterans have been impacting our nation through the American Legion, and we believe it makes a difference. If you believe, learn more at legion.org/webelieve.
Our nation's servicemen and women show great courage and leadership both on and off the battlefield. When they transition to civilian life, they can apply the skills and values they learned in the military to the workplace. That's why the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes is urging employers everywhere to be smart, bet on a vet. Hiring a veteran is also a great way to show your appreciation for them. To learn more, call 1-888-44-SALUTE.
Now your ABC 7 First Alert Weather Forecast with meteorologist John Scalzi.
So we're looking at 76 degrees as the air temperature. We have a dew point value coming in at 75. That 75-degree dew point making it feel very humid out there. We're looking at an easterly wind now blowing at about 6. That easterly wind is very important in terms of our red tide irritant in the air and how far it will travel inland with a westerly wind, which is what we have been having. Obviously, it gets blown much further inland, the smell of the decaying fish and etc. Well, now we're developing an easterly wind. Now, that's not to say we won't have a west wind at all. In the afternoon, with a sea breeze, we will develop that westerly wind locally near the coastline, but at least the east wind will be beneficial for a good part of the day. As far as the forecast for the remainder of the morning and into the afternoon, I don't see much of a problem with rainfall this morning. As long as we have that easterly wind, it tends to blow things back out toward Gulf waters, and enhanced by a land breeze over the course of the weekend. I think that will be even more so. We're looking at about a 20% chance of those showers beginning to build by around noontime, probably right along the I-75 corridor, and then by 3 p.m. about a 50% chance of storms. They'll be building more in inland locations, Hardy, DeSoto, and extreme eastern parts of Sarasota, Manatee County. And then as we head into the evening hours, we'll watch them kind of blow back toward the coastline. Titan radar right now showing pretty quiet conditions across the area. We did have some showers here out in Gulf waters, but other than that, things are quiet at this hour, and that's pretty much where they're going to remain. The weather highlights today indicate that westerly wind that we have had is being replaced by a ridge of high pressure building just to our north, and the easterly wind on the underbelly of it. Showers and thunderstorms build in the collision zone between that easterly wind and our local sea breeze fronts. That causes the showers to build in inland areas, and then they'll gradually drift back to the coast. That is a typical summertime scenario for us, and it's what we will enjoy for at least another 5 days. East wind building, west moving storms, meaning that they'll build inland and then move back toward Gulf waters. And we have good chances of seeing showers this weekend as moisture aloft is returning rapidly. So the east wind continues. We get some storms building right along the interstate as we head into the noontime hour, and then those storms really start to explode in the afternoon as we get into about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, and then they'll gradually drift back toward the coastline as they die out. That's a scenario you can take to the bank over the weekend. The drier air aloft, which kind of suppressed showers yesterday afternoon and evening, is now rapidly being replaced by more humidity. Here, redder is wetter on this map, and that's the moisture that's in the air aloft. Maybe next week some drier air, slightly drier air will move in. We'll see. In any event, there'll be plenty of moisture around to support showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. Forecast for the tropics looks pretty good. Not much here going on here locally, obviously. We have very quiet conditions. Out here off the coast of Africa, we do have one area that has a chance of seeing some development over 10 days, or over 5 days from now, but it's only a 10% chance of development, so it's not much. The forecast for boating looks good. Pretty light winds, though, light and somewhat variable over the next several days. As we head into the 7 days ahead, 91 our daytime high today with a 50% chance of showers. Again, we're developing that easterly wind flow, and that carries us right through the weekend with a 50 to 60% chance each day. Showers build inland, they drift back to the coast, so if you are out of doors, watch that eastern sky for building thunderstorms. And then as we head toward next week, we're looking pretty quiet with a 40 to 50% chance of showers each and every day, and no tropical development forecast. Back to you.
All right, talk to you again soon. Thank you, John. Here's a live look right now at the intersection of 301 and State Road 70. Some congestion there starting to build. Traffic moving nicely, actually. That'll change throughout the morning. A real busy spot there. We often point that out on our maps. Speaking of those maps, here's the scene right now, 14th Street South, some congestion. Real busy right now between Bayshore Gardens on the way down toward Whitfield. Be aware of that if you're traveling south on 41 in Manatee this morning. Farther south in the maps, here's the scene right now in Sarasota County. You'll see east of the interstate on Clark Road, some congestion where Proctor comes into play, and traffic is actually heading westbound there. And then finally, to the south, not much to speak of so far with our friends in the South County area. Defense attorneys for the 5 suspects arrested after starving children were found in a New Mexico compound filed motions to dismiss all charges. The lawyers say the men have been held for 10 days without a hearing, which they say is against New Mexico state law. One of the suspects will not be brought to Georgia to face a charge of custodial interference involving his son. The 3-year-old's body was found at the compound. It's believed he was killed in a religious ritual to cast out demons. Police found a squalid trailer there with 11 starving children inside. A former fertility doctor in Indiana is accused of using his own semen to inseminate patients. Dr. Klein, rather Donald Klein, surrendered his medical license yesterday, but Klein isn't going to jail for what he did. It turns out there's no law against it. Several victims say the loss of his license isn't enough of a punishment. Those victims include adults who have learned they're technically Klein's biological children. A group of Klein's former patients is pushing for a change to that law. They want to make sure that the deception they endured never happens to anyone else. Still ahead on Good Morning Suncoast, a rare Apple I computer will go up for auction next month. Why it might sell for nearly $1 million. And next half hour, the man suspected of being the Golden State Killer went back to court. The new charges he is now facing. 5:20 right now. Here's a peek outside our studios. Nice downtown skyline shot. You're watching Good Morning Suncoast on ABC 7.
It's been about a month, and I can honestly say I've seen the change in me. I went from being a depressed girl who didn't want help to this happy, caring girl who loves helping other people. I just really hope that people that went through what I went through get the help that they need, because their story is important and they are loved. Thank you so much for everything.
Here's something we bet you didn't know. Nearly half of all cancers can be prevented. That's right, half. Nearly 50%, mostly by making small everyday changes in your diet and controlling your weight, walking more, eating less, and eating foods that help you and your family to seriously reduce the risk of cancer. And of course, by not smoking. Visit the Cancer Prevention Together We Can website and get a free 30-day planner filled with tips, recipes, stats, and more about protecting your family. Go to prevent50.org.
So you've decided to go to college. That's cool. So pop quiz. Which is a better way to earn your degree? Commute to college and fill your gas tank, get stuck in traffic, drive in bad weather, try to find a parking space, walk a half-mile to class, or learn online at Independence University. In the park on a bench, on the beach on a towel, or on your couch with your kid. Your campus is wherever you want it to be. You don't go to college. College goes to you. That's independence. That's Independence University. You schedule classes around your schedule, and all your supplies, including a brand new laptop and tablet, are included with tuition. At Independence U, you'll learn from professional instructors with real work experience. You'll get personal support in school and employment assistance when you graduate. Get your degree, but keep your life. That's independence. That's Independence University. So if you're really smart, you'd call now.
Call 1-800-965-2704.
Independence U, for an independent you.
Call 1-800-965-2704.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate, and it's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
Consumer news now. Many of you have retired or are hoping to retire someday. Here are some tips from USA Today to ensure a better financial future. First off, coordinate with your spouse. This will help determine your total income in retirement. Look at your savings and use the 4% rule, which lets you withdraw 4% annually from your savings. Now that you have an income, then budget it. Depending on what you are looking at, you might want to continue working for a little longer to increase your savings, and make a plan for health care, as Medicare does not cover everything. And there you go. Some of the nation's biggest tech companies will talk today about security for the midterm elections. The story in today's Tech Bites.
In today's Tech Bites, a secret meeting happening today.
The nation's biggest tech companies, including Facebook and Twitter, are reportedly gathering in San Francisco to talk about the midterm elections. BuzzFeed reports that they'll discuss ways to prevent intruders from using their platforms to manipulate information. And Sony's robot dog is making a return.
The new iBo can recognize family members, find its way around, and respond to voice commands. It goes on sale next month for nearly $3,000. And tech lovers can buy a piece of history. A working Apple I computer is going up for auction next month.
Looks ancient. It's the first computer developed by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Experts estimate there are less than 60 working Apple I computers. One of them sold recently for nearly $1 million.
There's a lot more technology in this than that computer way back then. Those are your Tech Bites.
Have a great day.
Tech Bites, sponsored by Allstate.
Fact is, every insurance company hopes you drive safely. But Allstate actually helps you drive safely with DriveWise. It lets you know when you go too fast and brake too hard. With feedback to help you drive safer, giving you the power to actually lower your cost. Unfortunately, you can't do anything about that. Now that you know the truth, are you in good hands?
Okay, we need to get all your school supplies today.
School, grade, done.
Done.
Hit the snooze button and get low prices on school supplies all summer long. Like these for only $2 or less at Office Depot Office Max.
If you spit blood when you brush or floss, you may have gum problems and could be on the journey to much worse. Try Parodontax toothpaste. It's clinically proven to remove plaque, the main cause of bleeding gums, for healthy gums and strong teeth. Leave bleeding gums behind with Parodontax toothpaste.
Planning a Carnival Fantasy Cruise out of Mobile? Then check out the park and cruise packages at the luxurious Battle House and Renaissance Riverview Plaza hotels. Stay at the Battle House for $169 per night, or the Riverview Plaza for just $149 per night, and leave your car for the duration of your cruise. Includes transportation to and from the cruise terminal. If you're cruising out of Mobile, come stay with us. Call 1-800-MARRIOTT or visit Marriott.com now.
Who else has been taking your prescriptions? Keep your medicine and your family safe and secure. Mind your meds. To learn how we can help, visit the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids at drugfree.org.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
Every week on Animal Outtakes, it's a new animal adventure. It's a group mainly of volunteers. When a wild animal is in need of help, they come to the rescue. We're visiting the Wildlife Center of Venice, and these volunteers are doing it all. Their goal is to rehabilitate and then release animals back into the wild, and they're not afraid to go the distance.
Coast Guard, we are taking on water.
The United States Coast Guard. They secure our ports and waterways, protect our environment, keep drugs away from our kids, and save lives. It's dangerous work. And in times of triumph or tragedy, the Coast Guard Foundation answers the call to support Coast Guard members and their families. Learn more at coastguardfoundation.org.
We've all heard how military veterans adjusting to the civilian world may have certain issues.
30. 70.
If only everyone had this issue. No matter what challenge they face, Easter Seals is here for America's veterans.
There was this big bruise on my friend's face. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to think her own nephew could have hit her.
I didn't want to see it. My mother's bank account was emptied, and a caregiver had taken control of it.
I didn't want to see it. My father's refrigerator, there was hardly anything in it. That's unusual for him.
It's tough to see that a senior citizen is being abused, physically, emotionally, sexually, or financially. Elder abuse is a crime.
So see the signs. Stop the crimes.
You're watching Good Morning Suncoast at 5:30.
This Sarasota father and son are behind bars this morning in the child neglect charges they are facing after 2 kids were found unresponsive in their car. Ahead of Labor Day weekend, what state troopers are doing to prepare for impaired drivers. And for the first time in 20 years, Venice getting a new hotel. We'll show you the plans next on Good Morning Suncoast. And welcome back. It is Friday morning, August 24th. I'm Ray Collins. Stephanie Webb is off this morning. John Scalzi has details now of your weekend forecast, sir.
Yes, sir. And we're developing that easterly wind again, which is a very great benefit for folks who have been suffering from that smell of the decaying fish with the red tide, of course, in full bloom. We're having a few showers out in Gulf waters, and those are kept at bay by that easterly wind flow. So we're not looking at the showers moving on shore this morning. That's the good news. They'll stay out in the Gulf, and we'll enjoy some quiet conditions through till about the lunchtime hour. Then we'll start to see some showers bloom. The forecast for temperatures today will again take us to about the 90-degree mark. We have 75 in Wauchula, 77 in Arcadia, 76 in Myakka, 76 in Sarasota, 80 Longboat Key, and 79 in Inglewood. The rainfall futurecast shows most of the heavier showers in inland areas. We'll have the complete forecast for you coming up in a few.
All right, talk to you soon. Thank you, John. First alert traffic now, our live camera out there at the scene at 301 and State Road 70. Just checking on the traffic out there right now. Very quiet at this point, but that'll change as the morning progresses. In fact, here comes some cars right now from Manatee County heading toward State Road 70. So I'm turning left right there. So there's the scene, not too exciting so far. We'll check back every 15 minutes there. Here are the maps right now in Manatee County. A little bit of a buildup there as you head over toward Palmetto on the DeSoto Bridge. Otherwise, pretty quiet. Farther south, here's the scene in Sarasota County. Only red you might see is at the top of your screen there at University. You see in the eastbound lanes from around Lockwood Ridge toward Whitfield, some delays there. Also, Clark Road east of the interstate, and both the east and westbound lanes, kind of unusual to have that happening right now. And South County, some early buildup you'll notice there on 41 in both directions in the Northport area. A father and son are behind bars today, charged with child neglect. Sarasota police say a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old were found unresponsive in the backseat of this car on the eastern end of Main Street in downtown Sarasota a week ago today. Now these two, 51-year-old Paul Houle and his 22-year-old son Paul III, were allegedly passed out drunk in the front seat of that car, which police say was not running and was parked directly in the sun for about 25 minutes. When crews arrived, both men and both children were sweating and pale in color. They were all taken to the hospital and now are all okay. Police arrested the men and took the children to the Department of Children and Families.
The reason we were called is because thankfully a good Samaritan who happened to be passing by noticed that something wasn't right and called 911 immediately. Had that person not called 911, this outcome could have been a lot different.
The car had to be running, and Kathy, the mother, said she went out there twice checking on him, and the car was running with the air conditioner. And then I don't believe it because nobody could sit in that car for that long and survive.
Police say they found 2 bottles of alcohol, an open beer, and a drug called dextroamphetamine. The men face 2 charges of child neglect without great bodily harm, and the father also faces possession of a controlled substance. They both remain in the Sarasota County Jail this morning. A preliminary autopsy shows the girl who was kidnapped and killed in Iowa was killed by sharp force injuries. 20-year-old Molly Tibbetts was found in a cornfield earlier this week. She'd been missing since going for a jog 4 weeks earlier. Wound up being a neighbor's security camera that led police to 24-year-old Christian Rivera, who was in the country illegally from Mexico. He has reportedly confessed to killing the college student. No word yet on a motive. A funeral is set for this weekend, and the suspect is back in court next week. The California man suspected of being the Golden State Killer was arraigned yesterday, and as reporter Doug Johnson tells us, some of the victims' families were there as well.
I miss the most that they didn't get to see me grow up, right? I'd just become an adult. They died right when I had turned 18.
Jennifer Carroll is talking about her father and stepmother, two victims of the Golden State Killer, who authorities say is 72-year-old Joseph James DeAngelo. Carroll says every day DeAngelo's in court, she'll be there.
Mostly to show support with my other survivors that we're all here for this, and I want him to know we're not going to forget.
It was actually DNA found on Carroll's stepmother, which ultimately led authorities to DeAngelo.
My stepmother and my father would feel a lot of peace knowing that they were contributed to his capture.
In court Thursday, a judge read all 26 counts prosecutors have filed against him, including 13 for murder.
Murder Greg Sanchez, a human being, in violation of penal section 187 subsection A.
Prosecutors also requested the court investigate if DeAngelo really needs the assistance of a public defender or if he can afford an attorney on his own.
For what it'll cost, just the number of charges we went through today, I suspect he probably can't afford an attorney.
Carroll says hearing all of the charges read today out loud in the courtroom was the hardest part for the victims.
To hear Charlene first and then my dad, and to hear the special circumstances, that was hard. It was hard to have it called out. And I'm with the Southern California crowd because of the murders, but I felt it for Debbie, I felt it for Shelley, Janelle, and Sherry's relatives. It was hard to hear every count by itself.
DeAngelo didn't look at the survivors or relatives who packed that courtroom. Also on hand, district attorneys from the 5 counties involved. Labor Day is next weekend, and state troopers will be cracking down on impaired drivers. As part of a national Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign, law enforcement from the Florida Highway Patrol will be looking for signs of drunk or drugged drivers. Last year, total, there were about 3,000 fatal accidents across the Sunshine State.
All of our families are on the road, so it is imperative for us as drivers to be responsible, and that responsibility is being 100% sober, 100% focused anytime that you're behind the wheel.
Now, the overall number of car accidents in Florida has actually gone up over the past 5 years. Well, after 20 years, Venice is getting a new hotel. The plans were released this week, and it'll be located in one of the area's busiest streets, but some neighbors say they don't want it there.
This 4-story, 86-room hotel will be the newest addition to the South County area. The Town Place Suites by Marriott will be on Jacaranda Boulevard, just southeast of I-75, behind Fairfield Inn and Suites, another hotel also owned by Marriott. Plus, this vacation destination will be bringing a retail shopping plaza with it, and the remainder of the now empty land on this street will also be sold for small commercial businesses.
Hotels are very much needed in this area for the various events that happen, and families come into the area for their vacations. It's a wonderful idea, plus all the employment that the hotel and the shopping mall will they'll be able to employ a lot of people, so that's a good thing for the area.
But here's the only problem. At the end of this street, an auto dealership will also be built, and directly intersecting the boulevard on Venice Avenue is the proposed Venice Regional Hospital. So residents who live around here feel like they're being sandwiched in, especially because all these properties were originally only supposed to be residential.
Just going to snowball, and people that are supposed to be taking care of the residential areas around here have no remorse about what they're doing whatsoever. It's just a developer-friendly society, and we are the victims of it. The residential people are victims.
Aside from congestion and a more city-like feel, many are worried about the traffic that all these new businesses will cause in an already very busy intersection.
And that is our South Bureau reporter Rebecca Fernandez reporting. Newly arrived Puerto Ricans are suing to have 32 Florida counties print bilingual ballots for this fall's election. Their lawsuit demands that election officials provide ballots, registration materials, and voting guides in Spanish. In those counties affected, which includes Sarasota and Manatee counties, the lawsuit argues that tens of thousands of Puerto Ricans who have moved to Florida since Hurricane Maria won't be able to vote without Spanish ballots. A hearing is set for early September in Tallahassee. A new report says the U.S. Education Secretary is considering using federal funds to buy guns for teachers. It would reverse a long-standing government policy not to pay to outfit schools with weapons. Betsy DeVos is said to be eyeing a loophole in a law that does not prohibit weapons purchases. Well, for some, coconut oil is all the rage these days, but a Harvard professor recently called coconut oil pure poison for its saturated fat content and threat to cardiovascular health. During a lecture at a German university, Karen Michaels said health claims surrounding coconut oil are absolute nonsense. Coconut oil increases LDL cholesterol, commonly known as bad cholesterol, because it's associated with increased risk of heart disease. But coconut oil also raises HDL, the good cholesterol many health experts would agree is fine. Now, but for day-to-day use, experts recommend cooking with vegetable oils like olive, canola, or soybean oil instead. Well, it took 4 men, 1 Harley and 3 Davidsons to begin the iconic motorcycle company. That was 115 years ago. And this year, it took 3 different brewers to craft a beer to celebrate the anniversary. The limited edition Harley Davidson Lager is made with malt grown in Milwaukee to honor the city the company calls home. Harley riders are a tight bunch, and one brewer says it was the same thing when they created this recipe.
Together with the brewers really quickly, and we're all about the kumbaya in our industry is really fun. We all like to brew together.
Well said. The special brew will also be sold at bars and retailers in Wisconsin, but only until supplies last, and then once it's gone, it's gone. Still ahead, red tide isn't just devastating sea life and smells bad. We'll talk to a local property management company about how it's affecting business there as well. It is 5:41 right now. This is how it looks right now. Outside our studios, around 10th and Lemon, looking back south at the downtown Sarasota area. Big question now about that red tide is which direction might the winds be going today, John Scalzi?
Certainly is a helpful thing, and it'll be very interesting to see the new reports from Mote Marine spotters come out by noontime, and we'll have that for you, of course, on the noon show. 76 for the bus stop pickup time. We'll look for partly cloudy skies. Don't think we'll have a problem with rain showers, not like we did yesterday. 89 degrees for the after-school drop-off, and we'll look for a few inland showers that we'll be building at that time from the interstate and points east. I'll give it a 9 out of 10 chance of an outside recess today with partly sunny skies and maybe a few storms in inland areas. Complete forecast in a second.
Today, everyone is looking for more fashionable choices in flooring than ever before. And G. Fried has responded with a huge selection of carpets, tile, wood, laminate, and vinyl. Installed by a highly skilled team, G. Fried has got everything you're looking for and more. The next time you think about quality flooring, think G. Fried Flooring America. G. Fried Flooring America. Our world is at your feet.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions.
Prescription drugs aren't as bad as street drugs, right?
Weed's legal, isn't it?
Drinking is worse than smoking weed.
Isn't it? Why
is heroin so addictive?
Molly just makes you feel happy.
I have questions.
Mom?
Dad, did you ever try drugs?
They're going to ask. Be ready. Go to drugfree.org. A message from Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
At Boys and Girls Clubs, it's not just about trying new things.
Tanya, come here.
Learning the right steps. 2, 3, 4. Or making contact. It's not just about exploring the future. It's about helping them build it. It's about making the connection. It's about proving every kid and teen who enters our doors has what it takes. Great futures start here.
A promise was made. A promise that hit the beaches of Normandy. A vow that captured Iwo Jima. A contract that weathered Tet. A pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq. An IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. DAV fights to keep that promise, so all veterans and their families get the benefits and support they earned. For help, visit DAV.org.
My name is Julius. I have cerebral palsy. I work for Farmer Jeffrey Weising Law Firm. I do a lot of data entry and scanning documents. I want to increase my working experience to make the company much better. At the end of the day, it's good to think of the day's work and to think about what I have accomplished.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to abilitieswork.employflorida.com.
Ever since I can remember, I've been intrigued by industrial design and the optimization.
Wait, that's passion?
Ever since I can remember, my passion has been industrial design. We need 3D printers for Miss Adams' engineering program so that we are ready to solve 21st century challenges.
Impressive. Think It Up is a new initiative to support student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classroom today? Think It Up.
Now your ABC 7 First Alert Weather Forecast with meteorologist John Scalzi.
So we look at an air temperature of 76 degrees and a dew point value almost the same at 75. That gives us a 97% relative humidity out there. And once again this morning, it feels a little bit humid outside. We have an east wind blowing now, and that's beneficial. Yesterday, the wind somewhat variable out of the south. Today, I think we'll watch that easterly wind reinforce itself and establish itself. And even though sometimes the winds might be a little bit light and variable this afternoon, I think in general we'll be seeing that easterly wind flow pretty strong as we head into the overnight tonight and through tomorrow, even though this morning it's fairly light at about 5 to 6. Through the morning hours, we'll have a slightest little chance of a shower near the coast. Most of the stuff will be out in Gulf waters. I'm not even putting the shower chance in by 9 a.m. By 12 noon, we'll have about a 20% chance of seeing a few showers start to build along the interstate corridor and then kind of build in intensity as we get into the 3 p.m. hour. We'll start to watch some of those showers late in the afternoon build their way back toward coastline, and we'll look for about a 40% chance of that occurring as we head into the 7 p.m. hour. Not a whole lot of activity across the region right now. Everything's very quiet. We had a few scattered showers in inland areas during the overnight, but that has since dissipated. And right now we're looking at the nearest showers down by Fort Myers, really off the coast. So everything quiet for your morning commute. Really don't see much in the way of an issue there. A stalled frontal boundary located just to the north will eventually decay away over the next few days. A general wind out of the west will be replaced today by that easterly wind flow as a high pressure ridge builds just to our north. As that happens, that easterly wind will tend to collide with our local sea breeze, and that local sea breeze and the easterly wind will bring up a line of showers along the spine of the state, which will gradually drift back in this direction. You'll remember yesterday I told you that most of the shower activity would be over on the other coast, and that's what it was yesterday. But today, things much different. East wind building, west moving storms, and then good weekend rain chances as moisture aloft increases. The rainfall futurecast for today shows accumulations greatest in our inland counties. That's where the biggest storms will build as the collision of sea breezes occurs in this location. But then that general east wind across the state will push the storms back toward the coast. So everybody gets a chance at seeing a little bit of rainfall today and for the next several days. Again, in the tropics, everything quiet. This one area off the coast of Africa, possible development over 10 days, 5 days ahead rather, but the chance is only at about 10%. So more than likely that won't be a big bother. And certainly it's just off the coast of Africa, so there are no issues for us as we head into the next 5 days. We're still watching Lane. Lane is still classified as a Category 3 hurricane. Its forecast track remains basically unaltered. It will continue to move north, decreasing in intensity until it becomes a Category 2 storm by this afternoon, and then hopefully start to make its westerly turn as it moves off the island chain and out into the open waters. Again, heavy rainfall and high seas, the biggest problem with this storm. Southwest wind light, becoming more easterly this afternoon. Sea breeze building into that east wind that we'll see over the course of the weekend. 2-foot seas, smooth conditions on bay and inland waters. About a 50% chance of showers today, 60% tomorrow, 50% on Sunday with temperatures near 90 and feels like temperatures up around 100. Then over the course of the week ahead, we'll look for about a 40 to 50% chance of rain. Back to you.
All right, thank you, John. It's 5:48 right now. Here's a shot of our live camera catching the scene at US 301 and State Road 70. Usually a busy spot, and as you can see right now, it's early in the morning and already some cars going back and forth. We'll check back on that shot in about 15 minutes. First, here's the maps. As you see, nothing to speak of right now at 301 and 70 for a change. A little blip there on 70 as you get away from US 41. Farther south, you'll see some red there on Clark Road westbound just east of I-75. as you head back toward Sarasota. And then checking farther south, we'll see nothing much to speak of right now at 5:49 on your Friday morning. Well, red tide isn't just bad for sea life and the bad smell for the rest of us. It's also costing businesses countless dollars. That includes companies that rent to seasonal residents and tourists. Our Marla Spence has details of that story live in our studio. Marla?
Hey Ray, although seasonal residents won't make their way down to the Suncoast until about October and November, one broker and vice president of a company that rents homes to visitors says she's concerned about her current bookings and how red tide will impact business. Tanya Izzo of Stringer Management in Sarasota has been renting vacation properties for 27 years, and she tells us she's never seen red tide this severe. She says red tide has been a hot topic in her office since it began the past few months. She says she and her colleagues does not know what to expect this season as the Suncoast experienced the effects of red tide. She says she's mostly concerned about her company's furnished properties because those are the homes many snowbirds are already booked and which is the bulk of her business. Izzo tells us just like her, many of her clients renting this season are concerned as well.
We've experienced a few calls, people asking, you know, how long is it going to be? Nobody has that magic wand to tell us how long it'll be. Unfortunately, with red tide, they come here to get out of the cold. So yes, they enjoy our beaches and all of that, but they're still coming here for the warmth. So it's just a decision that they have to make.
And Izzo also tells us so far she has not received any cancellations yet for any of her properties located from Manatee to Sarasota counties. Right now, she just tells us it's basically a waiting game to see what her clients will decide. Ray?
All right, Marla, thank you very much. 5:51 right now. Other news, how much alcohol is safe to drink? Well, some scientists say none. A new study finds there's no amount of liquor, wine, or beer that is good for your overall health. According to this study, alcohol was the leading risk factor for disease and premature death in men and women between the age of 15 and 49, accounting for nearly 1 in 10 deaths, they say. A senior author of the study says the most surprising finding in all this was that even small amounts of alcohol use contribute to health loss globally as well. Certainly various reports every day on that. Let's take a peek outside our studios. When we come back, we'll update some of the day's top news headlines. Also talk about tonight's big Friday night football that resumes tonight on the Suncoast. Lots going on this weekend as well. You're watching Good Morning Suncoast on ABC 7.